and we're talking about happiness now, and often you talk to authors or artists, musicians, and they end up producing, or they're compelled to produce, to write, to create the piece of work that they want that doesn't exist in the world. And some of the best books are written by people. When you ask them, you say, well, why did you write the book? I say, because I wish it existed, but it didn't, so I wish somebody else had written it, but it didn't, so I wrote it. And that happens all the time. And often it happens with people in professions similar to ours. Kirsty, I've never asked you this, but, the wounded healer, obviously now you help people in so many different ways. Kirsty is the most awesome yoga teacher on the planet, right? But how come?
Ooh. Honestly, I say this a lot. I think that anyone who comes to things like yoga, we do it first to ourselves because we have that kind of wounding within us that brings it to us. And in the lunar work I do, I've been living by the moon for 13 years now, for the same length of time I've been teaching yoga, and I only teach what I know, so I can only teach you what I embodied and worked through myself and know to have worked for me, and that's why I feel I can speak about it with such passion, because it's one thing to read something in a book and go, okay, I logically understand that, I've read that, I get it. And then there's another thing to know something, to have lived through it yourself, to have used it to create change in your own life, to have, I call it, embodied it. It's a different knowing to know something and know it. And honestly, living by lunar cycles has changed my life. And I just wanted to briefly touch on what these two guys have said so beautifully, but we can use the moon to do that. Even if you don't want to believe in the moon and you're like, okay, moon, whatever. How often do we go though from January and we make these big resolutions and like, this is going to be the year and I'm going to change my whole life, and then we get to about February and it's still dark and it's cold and so we've not really done anything about our resolutions, and then we get to March, April and we've forgotten what they even were. Working with lunar cycles gives us a once or twice a month check-in to sit with ourselves and go, where am I? Who am I? Am I going in the direction that I want to go in my life? If not, why not? What's in the way? What's stopping me? What am I afraid of? And then what little things can I put in place to make a change? Because both of you talked about like making small changes. So if I just give you a tiny little brief way of that works, we have what's called a dark moon, which is a couple of days before a new moon. Now in a dark moon, this is the lowest emotional and energetic time of a lunar cycle. So this is where the moon, she's our biggest teacher. The moon once a month will disappear from the sky. She's like, I'm out of here, I'm going to go take care of myself, I'm going to go take some rest. I'm not going to shine at full power for other people all the time. I'm going to go just take care of me for a moment. And so in this dark moon phase, the moon, because the moon turns our tides, so the moon does the same for our emotional world. The moon will pull on the tides of our emotions to show us where we're out of alignment. Because when we're kind of trotting along, we're happy, everything's fine, that's all we're doing. It's when we hit an emotion that we kind of go, oof, okay, what's going on here? And the moon will like pull on our emotions to show us where we're out of alignment. So it's in the days of the dark moon that we'll find our boss starts to really irritate us, we'll perhaps argue in our relationships a little bit more. But when we stop and look at that, this is the moon showing us what's not working for us. So when the new moon comes around, which is your first checking point, the new moon's a blank canvas, a whole new start, a whole new lunar cycle. So the moon goes, okay, you don't want that, you don't like your job, you don't want to do a big commute anymore. What do you want? What do you want? So the new moon asks us to really just look at what it is we want, and then maybe what small changes we can put into place of how we're going to start to work towards that. And then as the moon waxes and gets bigger and bigger and bigger in the sky, our energy rises. And with that, as the moon starts to appear and shine more, she says to us, start to go out there in the world. Start to go after what you want. Start to use this energy to implement these changes and make these things happen that you want to happen. Then when the full moon comes, this is our second checking point. So the full moon illuminates our lives to show us where we are. And the full moon then will, first of all, what we want to do on the full moon is celebrate what we have achieved. Because as humans, we very rarely celebrate ourselves. We look at everything that we do wrong, but we very rarely pause to go, actually, I did that really well. So we celebrate what we did achieve at full moon. And then we look at what we didn't do about our new moon intentions and why. Well, I didn't go to that event or say yes to that thing because I was scared or something got in the way. Then as the moon wanes and gets smaller, which is where we are now, this is the releasing part of the lunar cycle. So we let go of habits, we let go of stories that we tell ourselves, we let go of expectations, we let go of emotions that maybe take a grip on us, and then we come all the way back down to that dark moon. So even if you don't want to believe it's the moon, beautiful opportunity twice a month to just check in with yourself. Do that for 3 to 6 months. Implement some of these 10 rules for happiness, as we'll call them. Your life will change. Your life will change.
Beautiful.